also a similar treatment. They should be entitled to go back to where they came from, whether it's in the Arab countries or another other country in the world. Because everybody who came after I left Israel, Palestine, so-called Israel, in 1948, came there as a refugee. In other words, my definition of the Israelis who live in Palestine now is that they are refugees in a country called Palestine. My father, in spite of the great trauma of becoming a refugee after being what he was, all of a sudden he is nowhere. And I have to spend on him. And of course, how could I spend as a student? I had to work. But he never felt, and he never told us that Palestine, except there are certain moments in the early days of frustration. He was frustrated that the occupation has lasted for long. But fortunately, we gave him the confidence again, the children. And our children are more confident than I am. And our grandchildren are more confident than our children. My grandchildren now are more committed to the Palestinian cause than I am or my father. They thought that by time people will be busy with what they're doing, they will have success in their businesses, and they will forget Palestine. That's another story. My success or failure has nothing to do with the fact that I have a home that is under occupation and I want it back.
Have any of your children been to Palestine, and what was it like? What happened when they went?
None of us have been to Palestine since occupation. In fact, Arafat, when he came back and they asked him, well, Talal did not come to present his, because I'm somehow known. So he said, Talal serves Palestine his own way through cultural and education and capacity building, and that is what we want. And so it doesn't have to do any political activity, which I don't know. But my daughter visited Palestine, and she went to Jaffa. It was an interesting trip, because at the airport, the Israeli authorities asked her, what are you coming for? And she's a Harvard business graduate. She got her MBA from Harvard. She said, I'm coming to study the education situation in Palestine among the Palestinians. I said, what a waste of time. Education for Palestinians? Palestinians are born to be workers. She said, well, let me do the study, and if that's the conclusion, I will let you know. So she went into Palestine, and she found our home where I was born. And she went there and knocked at the door. There was a family, a Jewish family living there. And they said, what do you want? She said, I just wanted to visit the home where my father was born. And so, you know, these people were not only stunned, they were scared. They said, well, don't hold it against us. We were just put in this house. If they ask us to leave, we will leave. So, no, I'm just coming to see the place where my father was born. That's all. I want to have a look and leave. She looked and left. And she said, you know, father? I said, yes. She said, I have been almost all over the world, and you took me to so many countries as your daughter. But the most beautiful country in the world is Palestine. And she lives in the US, and she's seen all Europe and many other countries other than Europe. She said, there is no country as beautiful as Palestine. Now, that is my youngest daughter, and that's how she felt.
Today, Ajami is a predominantly Arab district of Jaffa, housing around 8,000 Palestinian Israelis. In May 2009, a plot of land on Etrog Street, hosting the local farmers market, was sold by the Israel Land Authority to a housing company that deals mainly in developing housing estates for Zionist settler communities in Israel.
I don't know if I will go back in my lifetime, but I know that my children will go. And if my children don't go, my grandchildren will go. Because this occupation will have to end. There isn't any occupation in history which has not ended. So this occupation will end one day. It may not end during my lifetime, because as I said, I may not be around tomorrow, but I know that my children are looking forward to going back, and I know that my grandchildren are eager to go back. So it's a question of time. And I think the Israelis know this, and when they talk about the sense of security, they don't mean the security about their life. They're talking about security for the future. And they realize that they are there for a while. And that while is going to end. The policy of the US is to keep Israel more powerful than all the Arab countries together. So what sense of security are you talking about? This is not the security in the physical sense. It's the sense of security about the future. Because they realize they are in a country which doesn't belong to them.